Hi. Well, here Charlotte again, the Constitutional Coup headquarters. Normally, I do updates on current events and such like that, but today I want to bring to your attention an astounding opportunity for an investment, and that's an investment in my goods and services, which have gotten a tremendous boost from recent events in the U.S. Supreme Court. So, that said, I've been at this for a while now. I've had 5 decades of intense independent study of the Constitution, history, and laws of the United States, 15 years all in, and I know my material. And I can win in just about any setting you care to name. It doesn't matter what it is, especially since the crown jewel of the issues that I advocate, unopposed issues, all, is that there are no states. That's Pandora's box that unopens everything else. And eventually, if all goes well, it's going to put this government out of business exactly where it belongs. When we get back our nation and republic, the Constitution, defined and limited powers like it should be, won't be perfect, but from that starting point, we can make it better in conformance with the Constitution, not in contravention of it. And as I said, I have the portfolio. I've never even been opposed uh, in any of the cases that I've been involved in. And from the ones I'm getting feedback on from people across the country, not opposed there. And remember, the local dumbass is the one that has the sworn duty to sustain at least the government's burden of proof on jurisdiction and venue, and it can't be done. Not against the issues that I raised, particularly the no states one, and among other things, serious investors. I'll get you some of the documents that I've created and that I use. Among these are an 83-page uh, legal brief on no states. 83 pages, and the bastards can't answer 2 paragraphs. I got a 41-page motion to dismiss. It's almost as devastating as that. I got a 12-page bill of particulars, and any of these documents win the case outright on their own if we're in a common law court exercising the judicial power of a state admitted into this union or the concurrent judicial power of the United States. And I have other documents. Among other things, I have from the California Supreme Court. And I have multiple occasions where they've done this. This one is a denial by the California Supreme Court of my petition for an unopposed, non statutory federal writ of habeas corpus. And this is done, you'll see the signature below, by a deputy clerk of court. For that, I followed up with a thank you letter to the deputy clerk of court, since I understood exactly what was going on there. Like I said, you've got copies of all these documents for serious investors. But I knew that if the justices had done this, and they couldn't, but if they did, they would all be out there sitting in the cell in San Quentin, either awaiting trial for committing acts of treason to the Constitution or having been convicted of it. So I mean, when they're saying in the document reads, by the way, the clerk said that the questions you ask are beyond the jurisdiction of California courts as they appear to raise federal questions. Are they telling us that no California court has any federal jurisdiction? If that's true, and I can tell you, while I was sitting out there on a 7-month vacation as a political prisoner in Columbia, South Carolina, not courtesy of Vanna White, by the way, as they had a situation arise in nearby North Carolina where some stupid ass attorney made the serious contention that a transgender entity, whatever the fuck that is, had the right to select its public bathroom because taking a crap in a government funded bathroom affects interstate commerce. If that's true, what doesn't affect interstate commerce, and yet the California Supreme Court is saying we don't have it, ain't However, when you get to the point that I have and you know what they're really saying, that's what's astounding. And that's what's in concert with recent events in the U.S. Supreme Court, where it looks like for the first time in 150 years, they are actually going to stand up and do their sanctimoniously self declared job to say what the law is. It's that bad. What with the pandemic BS, the election, quote unquote, election BS, and other things that are ongoing here, all at one and the same time, with the court packing plan is in the mix here too, especially if Biden attempts to do that by executive order as commander in chief of the armed forces. So that said, I have the tools here. If we have a constitution and there's risk versus gain in every investment, I get it. If we have a constitution, that eliminates 90% of the risk, maybe more than that, because we're the ones now rolling the loaded dice. It's been these bastards in the back rooms and the boardrooms for way too long. But they're exercising power that we should have. And knowing what I did in South Carolina, I wish they had made a video of this. And this is a court record. First appearance after being hauled across country, for 2 months on 4 different unmarked federal military aircraft. And they must have figured when I showed up there, they were going to soften me up and get the thing over with in a hurry. And they read the charge, which was a felony, practicing law without a license, and I laughed, despite the fact I'm the one there standing in a red jail suit, manacled hand and foot, and said, well, the problem with that is I don't practice law. I get it right the first time. And we went on from there for another 15 or 20 seconds, stunned the courtroom into silence. Because there I was, the one apparently on trial, but they're the ones in trouble with the law, and everyone knew it. That's how it's supposed to be. And it was. I knew from day one when I got arrested in the library out here in California on this case, there was never going to be a trial. I was laughing at it most of the time. It was that bad. By the way, for that, I do want to show you, this is my government issued ID that I got from that jail cell in Columbia, South Carolina. That's government issued ID, right? Should not fulfill any needs I would have to prove who the hell it is I am. Although in my case, I can do better since I've got a family Bible on that count. And I've also got affidavits from family members testifying to the fact that I am who I say I am. And we don't need any of their ID. That's something they don't want you to know. But you volunteer into the system, and they use a lot of fatuous fictions of law to be damn sure you never get out of it. So the killer we have here, what I did in South Carolina, alone in a jail cell, locked down 18 hours a day, with no known right to effective assistance of counsel. What did I do? Did a hand-printed 18-page writ of habeas corpus to the United States Supreme Court, non-statutory federal. And serious investors will get this whole document. This is the portfolio that I have. And I did this. I'll show you a couple of more pages. 18 pages hand printed, 40 case citations, no errors. Who the hell does this alone from a jail cell or could do it alone from a jail cell? Well, I'd love to see an attorney that could do that, let alone anyone that's not been to law school. So another page just to show you. I mean, I did my work here and I sent it back to my friend in San Francisco and we got it to the U.S. Supreme Court. Now, they never took any official action on it. But what I'm convinced happened is that they got a call in Columbia from Washington, D.C. said, get him the hell out of there. We can't rule on these issues on the record. Now, this is 5 years ago. Now, I think things have changed a big deal in that amount of time on the Supreme Court, especially with recent events that have just happened with the case of Texas v. California, where they refused to file documents from the state of Texas, let alone hear and decide the case, when that's in their original jurisdiction, which is mandatory. Now, all of a sudden, they're apparently saying that all doesn't equal all in Article 3, Section 2. And for you serious investors, you're going to learn from me in a hurry that that's not really what was going on. As serious as that is, and it's a big deal, there's a much bigger deal involved here. And this is where we all get involved because this is our power, in a principal and agent relationship, which is what it's supposed to be. Not the guardian and ward that it's been turned into, or more accurately put, master and slave. So I have the portfolio. I have some actions pending here for petitions for redress of grievance. Almost certainly, we will not have to file any court documents, quote unquote court, because the threat of doing it and exposing these bastards, and they become personally liable if this happens. Okay, there's no qualified immunity, there's no affirmative defenses. You know, law school graduates, 4 to 6 years, most of you belong to the state bar association, and you don't honor your sworn duty to be bound by this Constitution and the laws enacted in pursuance thereof. That's why we never get there, and they never let me get in front of a jury either. It hasn't happened. And in the local felony case I'm handling, that didn't happen either because they realized they couldn't have me going on the witness stand as an expert witness and educating the jury. And oh, by the way, we had almost 600 jury instructions to help do that. But they couldn't prevent me from doing it either because the accused has a right to be heard in his own defense. If that would have happened, the whole apple cart gets overturned. And that's what it is that we need to start doing here. And I believe we still can do it. And recent events strongly reinforce my position that the Constitution remains in full force and effect as the supreme law of the land. That's what we want to get back. And that's the good news to me because it's going to be a very good return on investment. Don't misunderstand. But the primary reason they're there and the main reason that I'm there is to make changes in the way the just us system does business. That's something that if and when the time comes, the juries are going to recognize not only from what I'm doing, because they recognize that it helps them, their families, and people that they know as well. And on the other side, all you have is these stupid ass state bar association attorneys dressed in $2,000 Christian Dior suits, and they're not going to have any credibility at all. I'm never going to see a jury. Haven't yet. I'm sure I never will. But if that were to happen, and this, by the way, would be a common law jury that has the power to rule on the facts and the law. That's the whole point of the American system of jurisprudence. If that's still available, we have almost a guaranteed win here. I mean, yeah, risk versus gain always, and it's a corrupt system. I get that. But I have enough goods now with all I have available to get around that and probably without even having to go to court. You get them in the conference room and you sit them down like I'm doing here, and I can give them 30 seconds like I did in South Carolina, or maybe a minute or maybe a minute and a half. And they'll be getting the checkbooks out because they can't have this happen on their watch. So that's how I'm looking for serious investors with serious amounts of money. Happy to talk to you. Send me an email, by the way, youwinincourt@gmail.com. Introduce yourself and tell me a bit about yourself too. And we can work together here and make some big changes in the way the system gets done. That's worth more than any amount of dollars that could possibly be, come into play here. But there are going to be some good chunks of change because we got them all for multiple acts of treason to the Constitution. But I would call in my pleadings a pernicious, pervasive pattern and practice of premeditated criminal, if not treasonous, violations of rights secured by all 6 articles. That's a hell of a position to be able to have. But that's where I've gotten to over the course of the 5 decades I've been doing this. And they can't beat me. They won't even try to do it. That's the good part. No costly, expensive litigation for them, not for me, because I can go in there and take care of business on my own. I don't need one of their damn attorneys. But costly, expensive litigation that becomes public and exposes a lot of the crap that's been going on behind the scenes. So a lot more people become aware of it. And a lot of them are going to want to take action too and possibly become clients. There's a lot of good stuff about this potential for investments there. So serious investors, send me an email, youwinincourt@gmail.com. We can go from there. You're absolutely going to love it. Thank you.